Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Episode at the Month. This is the show where at the end of every month, the beginning of every month, depending on when the video comes out, we look back at the month that be and talk about the best episode of television that came out that month. And for the second month in a row, we're diving into the well of Andor. Now, we're nearing the end of the year. By the time this video comes out, it is going to be early December. And we're reaching that point where everyone's going to be doing like their top 10s. Like, this is your favorite episode of the year, your top 10 characters, television shows, movies, comics of the year, all that stuff. I'll give you a little hint right now as to where I'm leaning. I don't know the specifics yet in great detail, but Andor is definitely in the top 10 somewhere. In the high top 10, I might even be inclined to say. I think this show has been perfect and has executed itself in ways I wasn't expecting. Now, I've already talked a lot about Andor on this channel. I've done a whole review of the season. I've done another one of these episodes talking about Andor. Today, we're strictly talking about, I think, its greatest triumph, which is something that's very hard to do for two reasons. One, we know you're getting a second season, and two, we know where the character ends up. So when you do a finale episode where we already know how the story's going to end, that's a hard thing to sell for people. But what this episode did, it's called Rick's Road, it's episode 12 of this season, it really showed you that, oh, yeah, this team knows what they're doing. Knows more than any other show, I think, on Disney Plus, knows how to tell television. Knows how to make a television show, because that's what this feels like more than any other show on the Disney Plus platform. Andor knows how to build itself up as if it was a television show, because this one is. It has the numbers that an episodic show should have, where it's like, hey, it's 12, 13, whatever, they have it. This finale is the ending that this show needed to cultivate into the status of the best piece of Star Wars media in a long time. There's so much emotion put into this episode. It is one of the most tense moments on television this year. If you want like just a crash course on how to build up tension, this is how you do it. You have a beautiful score that is just emulating like this one moment. You have an already intense aura going around this entire town of everybody's just on edge. You have all your characters culminating into one location. Even if their stories don't connect, everybody's headed to this one location in this one moment. And then you break it and destroy that, and everything falls apart in a matter of seconds. That is so cool and powerful. This episode is all about the funeral service for Marva. Marva has been a side character for most of the story. Andor's pseudo-mother figure. She dies off-screen, which is very impressive, and the entire town of Ferrix is like, we're celebrating this woman's life. Against the Empire's wishes, we're going to actually hold a service. We're going to have a bunch of big jazz trumpety players walking down the street with their big instruments, making loud noises, freaking out everybody, and then everyone in the town is just like, okay, we know what that means. Time for the service. It's one of those things, and I've talked about this a lot when I talked about Andor off-screen and on-screen when I'm doing these videos, is it's a very post-Black Lives Matter, post-George Floyd movement, where it's like, this is about how the police and the establishment are dangerous and evil and don't actually want to see you prevail. They want to see you put in the way that their path can be greater than yours. And I think this show does that better than any other in this era. It's very powerful how that happens. And again, the culmination, a lot of the story is Andor trying to figure out how to save Bix and how to honor Marva's legacy. A lot of this episode is, of course, like Cyril trying to find Deirdre and get her to safety, all those things culminating together. But then you just have like the main central focus point of this episode just being, okay, we're marching down the streets of Ferrix, we're saving ourselves from this scary evil that is presenting us. We're going to go against their wishes and do it early. We don't care what happens. We're going to march down our street in a in just a silent-esque protest where we're not going to do anything harmful. Not going to strike anything until struck upon. And then, ooh, it is intense. So, you know, the Empire doesn't like that. The police think that's kind of bad, right? So they don't think that's kind of good. So they put up some barriers. They get their people in riot gear. Yeah, that to me was so poignant, where you're just like, of course that had to happen. And then Marva has a holographic speech that she made before she died, and it is powerful. Again, I don't want to just sit here and read the speech to you because I don't think it's going to have impact. I'm just going to say, even if you haven't watched the show or you have no interest in really watching Andor, you could probably find a clip of this speech floating around YouTube or TikTok somewhere. I do think it's an important one to listen to, even just from like a writing standpoint of like how you talk about like fictitious dictatorships, but in a realistic setting. It's important, but it's honestly easy to apply to today's climate. She says, the moment we just get comfortable, they get complicit, and then we have to rise up and strike, is essentially what she's saying. It turns into slander, essentially, to the Empire's eyes, and that incites what is like the final blow of what leads us off into an actual riot and why we have riot gear assembled here. It is amazing. Like, the speech itself is powerful, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've loved every second of Andor. That speech is the one part that made me tear up and shed a little bit of tears. I can't do it justice just explaining it to you. All I can say is it's powerful. It is emotional. It is honest, especially in today's climate. If you're somebody who is active in the world at large and knows a lot of the stuff going on and is aware of this, like the infidelity of it all, you get it. You understand what it's saying here, and it makes it even more powerful and even more frightening in that aspect. But it's so crazy and unique. And then the droid B2 is holding up the hologram. Somebody kicks the droid over. Hell breaks loose. We get into an actual riot. There's fighting. There's people being arrested and killed by the police force. One kid who, again, I love this little detail, that it's the younger generation who only knows this like resistance, like this feel of the Empire on their neck, is the one who throws the grenade that incites everything to go chaotic. I think that's a great touch. It could be one of the older characters, but the fact that it's like the young kid who understands like, oh, this is like radicalization, I can't be a part of this, I gotta go against everything, makes it so much more special and intense. And then all the characters culminating into their moments, people saving each other, romance is either sparking up or dying out. It's so intense. It's so well paced. It feels like an actual script was written. An actual director sat in there, was like, this is how we film this. Actual editing bay was like, this is how we time this right. This is how we make every moment matter. You don't see this enough anymore in this type of television. And the fact that this could exist in this bubble of a Star Wars bubble where it's so anti-authoritarianism is perfect. It feels very George Lucas, and I think this episode in particular just shows you how scary the times we live in are, and how scary it is with the Empire, and how those are pretty much just two things that correlate against each other. You can see the fear in one and how it works in another. That's perfect. It's intense. It's realistic. It's honest. There's a riot. There is death. There is chaos. There is protesting. There is riot gear. There is fright in the air. And it is scary and honest, and it's also going to make you cry because that speech, it's realistic and it's truthful, and that's scary for Star Wars to get so in the weeds of our own day-to-day life. But hey, that's just what makes it the best episode of the month, and of course, I had to talk about Andor. If it's the only show that makes me cry this year, of course it's going to be my episode of the month. So, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Hive. And as always, I will check you out in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck. May the Force be with you.